Hello, I'm Jim Miller. I'm here with Ron Bowers. The Flip Side starts right now. Welcome to the show. In previous election cycles, the Democratic Party in Washington County has sometimes struggled to fill a slate of officers. Not this year. Ron, there is a significant increase in Democratic candidacy, not only in Washington County, but across the nation. Let's look at Washington County first, though. What happened? What changed?
I think there's a lot more activism within the political parties today. And I think the Democratic Party has found a lot of leaders, in the central committees and around that have actually gone out and recruited candidates to run. And I think that's a healthy, something healthy for Washington County. The county's been under Republican control for about 34 years, where there's been no Democrats really involved within the county commissioner part of government. And if we look at the amount of people in Washington County, what do we complain a lot about? Democrat control in the state government. And we look, is that good to have all one-party control in the state government? Well, people in Washington County are beginning to look at, is it good to have just Republican control in county government? I mean, every position in county government is under one political hat, so to speak. And I think it's time that people look at getting more involved, putting candidates out. People care about their communities now. It used to be within the Republican Party, because I am a Republican. I am a registered Republican. I was a Democrat when I was elected, but I was always accused of being more Republican than Democrat. But now you find that there are so many different issues that you don't have a coherent government. You have candidates running within the biggest campaign primary is going to be the Republican Party. The amount of Republicans that are running against each other vehemently. Some of the signs, some of the comments, the lawsuits, things happening. You recently had a letter that was leaked to a former member of the Republican Central Committee, and that information went out. That person criticized to the hilt another candidate, and that other candidate totally disavowed. What it said was, they come to find out that letter that was sent from the county to the state was intercepted by a person that I'm not going to name right now, but it'll be known pretty soon, because they were actually allegedly caught sending the letter from Staples after they got it run off. And that was an inside job from the county to get it to a former member of the Republican Central Committee.
From a Washington County perspective, how much of this surge do you believe is national politics filtering down versus things that are occurring at a local level? And you just mentioned a couple of local level things, but that's not the entire list locally. So do you think, again, from a percentage standpoint, how much is national filter and how much is actual local issues?
Nationally, it's going to have a major impact, nationally with the economy, and that's one of the things that we'll talk about.
Gas prices.
Going forward here today with the economy, with the Dow Jones. The Dow Jones is not doing bad at all, but the people being affected doesn't have a stock portfolio. Some have, their wages or their
401k, right.
401k through somebody, but that's not the problem. But you've got the war in Iran. You've got the different problems with a barrel of oil, with the cost of gas at the pump, with what it's costing for groceries, with what the unemployment rate is rather stable too, but the cost of living is dramatically increasing.
And wages are not keeping up with it.
And the wages aren't keeping up. So you get all of that, it comes down, Now you have a political party that had been dormant in this county for years and years and years, and now they're going to resurrect themselves, and people are going to start looking. Maybe we don't just keep one political party in Washington County, because with the Democrats and the Independents, they outnumber the Republicans by over 12,500 votes. So it's going to be unique in this election, but hold on to your hats with the Republican primary for county commissioner.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing from you is that you think there's a fair amount of it that's filtering from the national level. That said, we have the local support of the ICE facility by the county commissioners. There's a lot of talk within the school board. We've got the county commissioners changing the public comment policy. What of those issues do you believe will have an impact?
When the county commissioners voted, and I just had a conversation up at the Greenhouse Cafe Saturday morning with a gentleman that I know relatively well on the ICE facility. I talked about an ideology or ideologue that will make sure that something, will find a reason to make it right for the people that's involved. And he said the county commissioners didn't know anything about what was going on with the ICE facility. And you would tell me that not knowing anything about that ICE facility, you make a motion, Jeff Klein made a motion to approve it, second by Randy Wagner, a 4-0 vote, and no discussion, no debate, no nothing. You're telling me that that's government for the people? I would at least, in doing it, I would at least had a couple of countermeasures, providing that that we don't lose the taxes that will be paid. On the building now that they will lose, we will lose $700,000 a year taxes on that $72 million building that they couldn't sell for $72 million. What did they do? They took a $72 million building, and the federal government paid $102,400,000 for it. Now, we're conservative. We believe in smaller government, and as you watch them run, it's smaller government, being conservative, economic development, etc. Where is the outrage of what we paid and what we're going to lose when that facility is built out? There will be a loss of $1.9 to $2.1 million. People will say, however, built in that, there is an amount of money that is a payment in lieu of taxes that they'll pay. So they'll pay into it. I would make sure that that money comes in specifically into the budget, that we know exactly how much money's coming in, and that be earmarked for houseless veterans and houseless people within Washington County instead of Hagerstown and the other 8 incorporated municipalities. Make sure that it's there. We don't question anything. The federal government's got the right. No, they don't. You let the federal government take a right that you still have to the environment, environmental studies, or whatever it is. The parcel of land, and you know the land on Wright Road, Hopewell Road, that parcel of land has been snake bitten since the 70s, when it was part of the sewer pumping station that went into Lockwood Plant in Williamsport. Later was changed and went back to the Conicajig Wastewater Treatment Plant. And all of the sewer from halfway from the Valley Mall goes into that pumping station. The problem isn't the sewer. The problem is the amount of water infiltration, stormwater, that is generating now and just totally blowing out the pumping station. Those things are reasons the Democratic Party and other activists have been taken over.
Speaking of activists, some Democrats say that this is about accountability, that this whole process is, and making sure that voters have choices. One of the things that Democrats are saying at a national level is let no race go unchallenged. Because, in staunch Republican districts, and I'm sure the same is true in staunch Democrat districts, there's oftentimes no challengers because there's no money, because the national people don't want to put money in Washington County, because national Democrats don't want to put money in Washington County.
But there is national Republicans putting money right now by a hand-picked candidate too into Washington County.
My point, though, is Republicans may argue that it's outside political activism coming into the county. Which is it in your view?
Rephrase your question, please.
Democrats say this is about accountability. Republicans say this is outside influence, outside activism, trying to come in and change Washington County.
Let George Soros out of the equation. Don't talk about where the money's coming from. Do the right thing. Represent your people. Do your homework. Ask the tough questions.
But haven't we seen races before where the candidate is largely funded by these small dollar donations from many, many people outside of the county? I think there was a race here locally, a congressional race, I won't mention names, where the candidate had a fair amount of money, and very little of it came from Washington County.
Well, that former candidate, good friend of mine, now sits on the Board of County Commissioners. Yes, he had a lot of outside money that came in. Is that right? It's not wrong by law. It is something that they tried to deal with years ago. They didn't deal with it. Campaign finance laws. Should it be? Yes. And it's the same way locally. You will find there will be a lot of outside money coming in for a candidate locally in the county commissioner race. Do I think it's right? It's part of the law, certainly acceptable. And if you can go out and get money from someplace else that they believe in you, more power to you. But don't lose sight that you're representing the people of Washington County.
We've also heard comparisons to Frederick County's political evolution over the last 2 decades. Is this a similar transition that's beginning to occur in Washington County, in your view?
No, because Frederick County went to the county commissioner form of government to the county council form of government. Totally different kind of government.
It is.
And by being
we tried to do that a couple times.
Yeah, 3. And for that reason, Frederick County has changed their dynamics, because you have an elected county administrator, and then you have council. The council folks go in districts, and maybe 1 or 2 countywide, or maybe just 1 countywide, and that makes a massive difference. But Frederick County has turned, what are they, more purple now than they were, but they were very strong red.
Right.
But that's turning. Can Washington County do the same thing? Back in the Lemkirk era time, then you had Marty Snook, and for 8 years, Marty Snook, with the Republicans, and then Democrats came in with myself, Roulette, and Linda Irvin Craig, John Salvatore. When we started, that was 12 years. 12 years of Democratic rule. And since then, since 94, there has not been a county commissioner, a Democratic majority on the Board of County Commissioners since then. Is there time for a change? There may be a change, but there may be a dynamics that's really strange. And that's what I predict. There will be a strange dynamic of elected county commissioners in this next Board of County Commissioners that will be seated in December of 2026.
Last question on this topic. Many of the candidates, both in Washington County and across the country, are first-time candidates, first-time election seekers. Is that a strength because they bring a fresh perspective, or is that a weakness because they lack governmental experience?
It's both. It's a weakness. It's a weakness of, and I just had this conversation earlier this morning about the amount of people that don't understand what makes county government run. County government's not giving money to the school board, or board. It's not doing all kinds of programs. County government includes all of that budget, where the money goes in the budget. But then what makes up the revenue for the budget? You have to do your infrastructure. You have to be attracting industry through economic development. You have to be working with an economic development commission through the state, and how you get, like Hitachi, when Hitachi came here making the rail cars, or how other major businesses. Look at Volvo. Look at how Volvo has kept a steady base here. And then what else? Our big business here is the prison system as well. Is that something that you're proud of? Well, it's something that when we went to an 18% unemployment rate back in '82, we supported prisons, a couple prisons coming in. Was I happy to do that, or was our boards happy? It was a way to keep a tax, or to keep a base. What was it? The tax you would pay on a mortgage on your house, 12 to 16%, but income, you could get 18% income on your savings.
Right.
And when you got so much, the dynamics totally changed. So it's going to be unique in 2026, how it all breaks out, and I hope that the people there are willing to spend time. I think that county government is more than ribbon-cutting ceremonies for all these businesses. That's a good thing, is having a ribbon cutting, but it seems like that's become a weekly occasion to cut a ribbon for somebody. That's something that could be done, but it doesn't have to be publicized by the county marketing committee every week. It's just something. And also, I'm going to go with one more thing. I think there needs to be a change in commissioner comments in county commissioner meetings. I hear on and on and on. No, their comments, the county commissioners' comments. I went to this pancake breakfast. I went to this here, and I went to that there. It's a campaign deal. I think they ought to, instead of that, they ought to be reading letters and emails and stuff from constituents of what constituents need, because constituents can't even talk in county government anymore.
Interesting. Well, we're gonna cut right there. We'll give you the last word on that, Ron. Stay with us. When we come back, we're going to talk about another very important subject in Washington County, and that is the availability of housing, and more importantly, affordable housing. Stay with us. We'll be back after these messages. Housing in Washington County, that's a subject not only in Washington County, but across the nation that has drawn a lot of attention. Ron, let's look at Washington County first. Has housing availability actually worsened, or has it just become more expensive?
One thing is very clear for 2026. The housing market has slowed from the frenzy of the COVID years, but it's not collapsed. In many ways, it's becoming more balanced market, especially in Western Maryland. We have a very balanced housing amount here in Washington County.
But what about affordability?
What do you consider affordability? Affordability is a misnomer, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, it depends on how much money you're making.
Well, that's exactly right.
Affordable for you is probably far different than affordable for...
Yeah, I need a trail. I need a mobile home maybe compared to what you need.
Yes, okay.
So, with a pink tie and a jacket, and I'm proud of you, Jim, for being all dressed up tonight.
I'm proud that you're
without
proud.
a tie on.
So, but housing prices have gone up, continued to go up, and I know they rebounded a little bit in the last year, but the average with home prices now around $330,000, is home ownership slipping out of the reach of first-time home buyers?
Right now, Washington County remains one of the more affordable housing markets in the state of Maryland.
I have
Maybe
no
one of
trouble
the best.
believing that.
Current estimate places the average home price between roughly $325,000 and $355,000, depending on what source that you're using. And what's the interest? If the interest is not being cut, and who's the new Fed chair coming in?
I don't remember his name.
Okay, Powell's going out. Starts with a W, I think it is coming in.
He was
right?
confirmed today, I believe.
He was confirmed today. Do you know that he cannot cut interest rates? Do you know it's going to be the whole Fed that cuts interest rates? Would you believe there probably will not be an interest cut to maybe 2027? And what happens? Where the interest rate is today, the people with that 1 or 2.9 to 3.7% interest, they're not going to sell their house.
Right.
So they're not, that house is not going to be on the market. What happens then? Homes are still selling. What's the rate? 6 point what percent? You're up at 6.1, some percent. Your unemployment's not up, but your cost of living's going up. Everything's going up. I had a great deal going with the, taxes this year. Taxes were going. Under the Trump administration, I got a tax cut, and the very next day after I got the tax cut, I got my oil bill. There went the tax cut.
Plus.
And you wonder, and this all happened in a self-made reason. It didn't happen because of circumstances. It happened because of what we decided to do. So what happens now in the housing market? Affordable housing to me is we are not requiring small houses to be built. We are using absolutely no creative genius through our planning commissions or our long-term planning to build houses. You remember the houses, Jim, out across from North High?
Yeah.
That was built in World War II?
Right past World War II, yeah. The
Do
little
you realize,
bungalow type stuff.
Yeah, do you realize that they're still used now by a lot of the same families, a couple generations removed, because they were good, they could be added on to? Do we build houses like that anymore?
No.
Nope. You can put some of those houses in the foyer of some of these big houses that are being built. So consequently, the people with money build the big houses, and what happens? The affordable house, what do you consider affordable anymore? It could be affordable if they built it the way it should be built. But is there money in building? Do we have to change the density of an acre of land? Do we have to change the density of where housing is built so we can have a higher density? Can the schools absorb when you have a lower, when you have a higher density of properties and you have more students there, can the schools handle them? So there's a various and sundry reasons that are ways that this could be done to build tiny homes, to come up with creative ideas. I haven't heard any creative ideas come out of county government since I don't know when. The old saying, since Hector was a pup. And it's just for some reason we don't put creative people together to come up with creative ideas. There should be an ad hoc committee established to deal with the housing issues throughout the city of Hagerstown, throughout the county, that we get tiny houses built. And that can be done. That's done in other places across the country. We could do it if the elected officials could kind of get together. I hope the new Board of County Commissioners run with some issues. How are we going to get along with the city? How are we going to get along with all other 8 incorporated municipalities? Can we get along with them? Sure we can. There's ways that you can get along. We're at a time in history where it's time we start getting along.
Getting back to the housing piece of it, though, if you look at the $330,000 average price, and if you believe the statistic that the average household income in Washington County is about $77,000 a year, those numbers don't work. I mean, at $77,000 a year, if you use
what's the cost of living?
Traditional.
What's the cost of living?
Well,
the cost of living's cheaper.
It is, but the banks are going to look at either a front end or a back end ratio. 28%, no more than 28% of your total gross income should be spent on house payment, or back end, which includes housing, car, loans, credit cards, and other debt, would be 36 to 43%. If you do that math, then that means the average earner in Washington County could afford a house that's about $250,000 if you assume about a 6.5% interest rate, a 10% down payment, taxes and insurance of $300 to $400 monthly.
Good. Start building a house in that price range. Build a smaller house.
Can we do that?
Why can't you?
Nobody is.
Well, but there again, we don't go out, we don't talk about it. You know, we figure out, like right now, all at once people have the money to pay $4.29 for a gallon of gas, or $5.02 for a gallon of oil to heat your home. They find the money there somewhere. Build a smaller house.
Then you got to sell twice as many.
And?
Yeah, I'm just saying. I mean, that's not what most
do
of these
you
builders
realize
do.
how much land is around that we could tear down and use smart growth like Governor Glendening did years ago? Use smart growth. It's already got roads, water, sewer. It's already there. Tear a bunch of this stuff down and rebuild over. How big's the houses in Hagerstown? A lot of them, it's falling down, run over. What's the front footage of the house? How many feet wide? 35, 50 feet?
Yeah, 50 foot at the most.
50 foot, you might have a duplex.
Right.
Okay? Why can't you can build the houses, for gracious sakes. We just don't do it.
Right. And housing construction has not kept pace recently.
No, because you got the big home builders, you got the big Ryan Homes, and all the big guys want to build big houses because that's where their money is. There can be incentives placed on land to encourage tiny houses to be built.
There are some that would say that local zoning laws, permitting, land use policies play a huge role in the limited supply of houses. Now, you know, I'm sure that everyone can find a complaint about a zoning or permitting process, not just in Washington County or the city of Hagerstown or any other city in America. How big a role do you think that plays in the housing crisis?
Plays a big role, in my opinion.
Tell me why.
Because I think that when you go out to develop a parcel of land, they get bids on first of all, it's got to be subdivided. Can it be, what's your subdivision regulations? Can it be subdivided? How many lots can it be subdivided into? Do we look at changing our subdivision laws, which allows smaller homes to be built in a subdivision? Do we keep the same width of roads and stuff that eat up a tremendous amount of land? Can we make those roads smaller? Can we make different amenities that when you have setback requirements, maybe some setback requirements have to change? With modern firefighting equipment, maybe you don't need a setback, setback from the line or setback from the street. In the city, what's the setback from the curb? What's the setback from the sidewalk? The house is sitting on the sidewalk. So who says you can't do those types of subdivisions like they do in the city to get more houses built? There's got to be a way to figure it out. If I can figure some of this out, is some of what I just said wrong? Probably I can be picked apart by some people that in the subdivision. But once those same people sit down and find out you can do it in the city, whether it's the 8 incorporated municipalities plus the city of Hagerstown, they're right out on the street. Why can't that be done in the county in different areas? It can be, but it's going to take some thought. You're going to have to take some heat to do it, and you're going to have developers raising holy cane about, well, we're not going to make near as much money. Well, maybe some new developer will be established, a tiny home developer. Maybe it's time for the big boys to take a hike and go someplace else.
Washington County has a higher homeownership rate on average than the rest of the U.S. Is that a strength or a weakness?
The highest homeowner rate?
No, it has a higher homeowner rate, not the highest.
No, I said a higher.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a strength. We got money in Washington County. Don't ever think that some of the people that you see at the diner or someplace don't have money. They do. They've watched their money. They've worked hard through their life. Most of them have their house paid for. And when they have their house paid for and they have that home ownership, they're not going to move now. They got that, it's either paid for or they got one of those 2.98% interest rates to pay on their house. It's a major strength. But as that population gets older, Jim, those houses are going to become available.
What about renters? Rental costs have gone through the roof.
I wish there was an answer, and in the last 2 weeks, we had that problem with an apartment building out on Northern Avenue. And in that apartment building, it hadn't their gas, their electric, their water, sewer. Some of it was turned off, and there was an alleged people that were homeless. I never found a homeless person that was homeless, but I found people that were talking about the rabble-rousers that were there talking about the problem. But those are kind of the things with some landlords that, I think the city council has really thoroughly, diligently tried to deal with the renters. It's a very difficult situation. Somebody gets into renting. What's the first thing they want? They want a Section 8 voucher, which allows somebody to come in. And why do they do that? It's instant money. It's guaranteed payback. How do we deal with those people in a rental community to keep their property up because of the cost? How many people have gone into buying houses, fixing houses up, buying apartments, renting apartments? I run into guys all the time that they made their money over their life. 2 or 3 of them went together as young guys and now own all kind of property. Can it be done? Absolutely. But I think the county ought to be involved with the city in finding a remedy to the problem with apartment dwellers not knowing to the last minute, that their property, they could be set out the next day. I know at the Venice, remember at the Venice, the people that lived there, they had so long to get out. The Colonial Hotel across from the Stube, there on South Potomac Street,
Yep.
22 people kicked out overnight. They knew for 9 months before that was bad, but they got kicked out overnight. Again, it's the county. It's another area where county and city can work together.
But here's the other question. Do we want all the properties in Washington County to be rental units?
Nope, you don't. Doesn't hurt for a percent. I don't know even what the percentage would be.
It's
or what it should be.
About 30% right now.
I don't know that that's that bad, because you have a community that, what's the Hagerstown Community College, what is they're saying? Stay close, go far.
Right.
And we're a community where people can live here and move all over. To those people that can move here, be here for a while, it's more profitable for them to lease or to rent than it is to buy. So you need a good market for renters to be able to come in to rent so they can freely move around.
All right. All right. Well, we're going to hold there on that topic. We have yet another semi-local topic. We're going to talk about the Francis Scott Key Bridge disaster when we come back. Stay with us. You won't want to miss that report. Welcome back to the show. So the Francis Scott Key Bridge collapsed, Ron, on March 26, 2024, after it was struck by the cargo ship, I think they call it Dolly, which lost power while departing the port of Baltimore and struck a main support pier of the Francis Scott Key Bridge. There's been a lot going on ever since relative to that. And most recently, we saw that at a state level, we've fired the engineers that were working on it, and we're looking to hire new engineers. At a federal level, files have been charged. So what I wanted to do is just kind of go through this event by event, starting back in March. And again, 1:28 a.m., March 26, 2024, the bridge collapsed within seconds. 6 construction workers were killed, 2 others survived, and obviously collapse shut down shipping traffic into the Port of Baltimore immediately. And Port of Baltimore is one of the nation's busiest ports for automobiles, farm equipment, and hazardous cargo. Let's talk about the collapse. First of all, from your perspective, there's the singular issue and the larger issue. The larger issue is, was this bridge up to standard that it should have been able to take some level of impact? Because I hear what they're building now is going to be built differently so that it has more ability to deal with an impact similar to what happened at Key Bridge.
When was Interstate 81 designed and built?
60s?
Same time Francis Scott Key Bridge. Same era. It was done then. Do you know that the guidelines to build the Francis Scott Key Bridge and those bridges is the federal government? The guidelines on an interstate highway was the federal government again. The design and the problem with Interstate 81 is how it was designed, and the problem with the Francis Scott Key Bridge is how it was designed and how it's going to need to be improved, because it's going to be bringing in far larger cargo than it brings in now. So that is a big deal. Was there a problem? Yes. Is there going to be a change now? Yes. With the federal government working, their Department of Transportation, working with the governor and the governor's staff to get a design so that those embankments that are down in the water can be hit in a way and not have...
It's not automatic that it still may collapse, but
Yeah,
the chances are far less likely.
But here's the deal. Who built the ship?
Well, yeah.
Okay, now, just today, Maryland announced a major settlement, roughly a $2.5 billion from the owner and operator of Dolly cargo ship to offset some of the rebuilding costs.
Right.
So that was today. The other thing, there's a suit with...
the shipbuilder.
Who was the shipbuilder? Starts with an H. Who?
Yeah.
But the electrical... who died? Who?
Yeah, I don't remember the name. It doesn't matter. But the point is that is still ongoing.
That's
as
still
I understand
ongoing,
it.
and that's the one that designed the electrical panel that caught on fire. So the shipbuilder still is the one responsible for the ship going wrong when the electrical system went out. So how will that be dealt with?
Now, we don't know how old this ship was, this Dolly ship, right? We don't know how old it was. But I mean, if you have a car, eventually your electrical system may go out, right?
Yeah, and
Things break.
what's guys like you against? The VEEP inspection of a car, okay? Is that right or wrong?
That's right.
So you're against it. Don't inspect your car so you'll never find anything wrong. So
VEEP is not going to identify electrical system problem.
It can.
That's not its purpose.
Well, a ship should have an electrical system since its navigation system
I agree with
is
that.
run by
but let's not confuse ourselves.
Well, let's talk about you and VEEP. You don't like VEEP? They
But
won't
that
like
has nothing to
electrical
do with
inspection.
it.
Well, in a way it does.
No, really not.
Well,
but-
I'll argue with you anyway.
Okay.
But anyway, there should be some way that type of inspection. Who is that up to? I thought that when a ship left the docks in Baltimore, a Baltimore captain took it out to sea. Is that right or wrong?
I don't know.
I think that is right. Where was the person that we had from the port to take that ship out? Was there an inspection before? Do you think electrical systems are checked on airplanes before they take
Oh, I'm
off?
sure they are.
Why wouldn't a ship be?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't have the answers to that.
So now, with what the firm is
But
that
that'll
built
all
the
be
ship,
right. But that'll be taken care of as a result of this subsequent lawsuit with the firm with the company that built the ship.
and
correct?
what's going to happen? Look at how much more money that can be made available to offset the cost. You got $2.25 million now, and now how much more? I'd say,
If any.
I I would say it's more.
Well, it may be.
Yeah, I would say.
But to your point, if they're supposed to be inspected and the inspections were lacking for whatever reason,
well, then the federal government shouldn't have any problem with the state of Maryland if a federal inspection wasn't done.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to blame the state of Maryland on this when they're controlled, the ships are controlled by the federal government.
let's move forward to the next step in the timeline, March through April of 2024. So there was a massive federal, state, and private sector recovery operations. It involved the U.S. Coast Guard, the Army Corps of Engineers, who led the efforts to try to reopen the shipping channel. There were temporary channels created at first, but full restoration happened in July of 2024. Now you think about that.
That's quick time.
That's quick. That is kudos to the Coast Guard.
Army Corps of Engineers.
Who has,
Yeah.
you know, we don't talk much about the Army Corps of Engineers, but they have a long history of success.
Yes.
Doing many, many things. My understanding that big ditch in Cumberland for water,
Yeah.
that was U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. So kudos to the federal government for that. Then we get into estimates. The initial rough estimate was $400 million to $2 billion, with a target reopening date of 2028. Where are we today?
4.3 billion to 5.2 billion
billion.
to be open in 2030. A decade.
Late 2030.
Yes, late 2030. So,
And the reason cited for that was the inflation in steel and concrete, which is true, new geotechnical data, which may be true, enhanced ship collision protection, I think we can all agree that that's a good thing, expanded environmental and design requirements, more extensive foundation work, and market volatility in construction and labor materials. So with all of that, I mean, assuming, because I don't think we're out of the woods on this inflation thing yet, maybe you do.
I don't.
If we're not, what's it going to be in 2030? Is it going to be 5.2?
Aren't you one of those guys that wanted to cut back on regulations and requirements?
Absolutely, I do.
Yeah. You're one of them that always preach going back. You're the one that didn't want to raise the minimum wage, you and Paul Fry.
That's right.
Where are we now? Where are we with... Everybody waits until the day something happens. Well, why don't we regulate that? Why are you shaking your head?
That is a unsurprisingly oversimplified version of reality that you presented right there, Ron. And raising the minimum wage has nothing to do with inspecting bridges.
No, it doesn't, but it's a philosophy. It's an ideology that you guys have.
Right. And I would argue that there are certain things that need regulated and certain things that don't. And I don't think that was one of the ones that was up for debate. I don't think anybody said that planes, trains, and automobiles should be necessarily far less regulated than they are today.
How you don't want the emissions regulated? Let it go.
All right, let's go back to the bridge, Ron. The point is that 5.2 billion, if that's even an accurate number in there, late 2030. What happened to this? What happened to this engineering firm that they cut loose? Why did that happen?
They went up to the cost estimate was up to $9 billion. You know, in different scopes, different scenarios, was $9 billion. So I can see. I think the Trump administration. With their person that was doing the negotiation, their secretary, he and Moore had, I was hearing about this political rift, and the more I read about it, and I was a friend of mine, and I was going through it, the more I was hearing about a rift, I saw, guys, these folks are all talking the same language. It wasn't a rift as much as it was trying to solve an issue of how these things go out. I've seen things here in Washington County that's come back, the design and things with it, when you throw the bid totally out, you wonder, how did they ever come up with these numbers? So then you take the low bid, then what happens? Then you find out you have all kind of change orders comes back in, but time all the change orders are back in,
you're back
almost
up
to
the
where
top
the guy was
end,
that
right.
you should have paid the money with in the first place.
Yeah, by the way, the shipbuilder was Hyundai Heavy
Hyundai.
Industries.
Yeah. Hyundai, yes.
Hyundai Heavy Industries. We don't know whether they have anything to do with the automobiles. I'm guessing not, but who knows?
Well, I would say that it's a conglomerate of some kind, like Toyota, and some of those are on cars.
So the big question is how is, from an election standpoint, let's go back to that one for a second, how is Governor Moore going to suffer as a result of some of the backpedaling and changes and dates that have dropped? How is he going to suffer from that, from an election perspective?
Oh, it depends on how Ed Hale does. Who's Ed Hale?
Who is Ed Hale?
Ed Hale's a Republican. Ed Hale's a Republican you don't hear a lot about, but he's going to win the Republican primary for governor. Okay? Ed Hale's is a good man. He's got, personally has money, but he's also got good common sense. He knows how to govern.
But
he's got a great staff around him.
Right, but how is the bridge issue? How are the bridge issues going to affect?
Depends on who Governor Moore runs against. If he runs against Merrick and Cox, it's not going to affect him at all. If he runs against a pure businessman that has quality in him, it can be a detriment to Moore. That's my point. Depends who he runs against.
Okay. All right. Looking into your crystal ball, and we'll come back to this in 4 or 5 years when this thing is actually up and running. What is, number one, what is Ron's prediction on the final opening date and the final cost? Is it $5.2 billion, or is it another number you're going to give me?
If this war keeps up and all the problems it keeps up and the economy keeps going, you're going to be up probably $7 billion. And the guy that got fired for the $9.3 billion might be sitting closer to the number than what the people that fired him was thinking about.
And when will it be done?
2032?
2032.
No, 2031.
Okay. All right, we're going to leave it there. When we come back, we've got one more local topic to talk about, and that is Fort Ritchie. Stay with us. We'll be back after these messages. Welcome back to the show. Well, now we're going to talk about Fort Ritchie. And Ron, I think we can say that Fort Ritchie has had significant ups and downs in its recent history. And by recent, I mean starting back in 1995 when it was placed on the federal BRAC, or Base Realignment and Closure Commission list. In 1997, support operations tied to nearby Raven Rock began transferring. In 2000, the property becomes a symbol of stalled redevelopment in Western Maryland. In 2012, ownership control shifts back after an economic downturn issues derailed private redevelopment plan. In 2019, Washington County and developers pursue new agreements. In 2021, residential rehabilitation and mixed-use redevelopment start, including renovated duplex housing. In 2023, Maryland awards up to $15 million in tax credits to support redevelopment. And in 2024 through 2026, businesses, artisan spaces, museums, housing, medical manufacturing continue opening at Fort Ritchie as it transitions into a mixed-use community. What is your opinion on Fort Ritchie, and tell me what your thought processes are?
Last week, Thursday or Friday, I went up to the fort. The State Highway Administration uncovered an old Fort Ritchie sign that they restored, and it was rededicated to the fort. I like and applaud John Crumpettage for what he and his family has done at Fort Ritchie with the finger buildings, with cleaning up the properties, for taking the houses that he owned, fixing them all up to where now they're a major part of his revenue, his income revenue, to do other things, to where Back, if you can recall, years ago, we built a wall at Marty Snook Park, and it's a five-arch replica of a five-arch stone bridge, which was a replica of the Price's Mill Bridge here in Washington County. But it was for the 5 branches of the military then. Of course, you have the 6th branch now with the
Space Force.
Space Force. And what has happened, all of those buildings that International Institute of Masonry were housed in is now going to be a boutique hotel. The plans on it and the grants that they've got, you're going to find one of the most unique settings of a boutique hotel with lakefront to the back of it, right off of the parade field where the old Officers Club is, which is now called Lakeside Hall. It may have always been Lakeside Hall. The downfall was the county commissioners, 2 of which are still in office, the county commissioners giving away 63 acres of prime land with lakefront frontage on that land that's got a bunch of houses on. Those houses are really not habitable right now. There's people living in them. There's rumors to who, which I won't say who, but they may come from down in a Germantown area. But again, it's controlled by JGBLI. JGBLI was the firm that worked, for South Korea.
Right.
And then in that process, here we have the 63 acres. We have the county, and I saw this firsthand. I'm not going by rumor. I saw it firsthand after I was asked about it at the coffee greenhouse cafe. A guy asked me, he said, Ron, he said, what's the county doing working over on those, on the streets and around those houses? I actually looked at it. I don't know what they were doing there, whether they should have been there, whether they're being reimbursed by JGBLI and the Koreans that owned it. The sad thing was the county had no reverter clause on the deed that if the Koreans didn't do what they said, that the county would get it back. So for what they're doing, county employees working on the base, working in the streets, working in ditches, working with electrical, with county equipment there, should they have been there? Were they being reimbursed? And why can't there be negotiations headed up by the county to turn all of those houses over, not just turn them over, sell those houses to the person that should have them, which is John Crumpetage. If the Koreans want to retain a portion out towards the road, they could. They cannot subdivide land off of there, nor can they sell land in the middle of where this is because, number one, they never bought it. It's never been subdivided. And there are no setbacks. The fort was one total entity. So there are no setbacks, which makes it difficult for a bank to loan money. They may loan money on an entire development, but they can't on each individual. There was a sign on the property. Give us a call, and the JGBLI will you pay $10,000 down, and they would go into it for they would finance it. What are they going to finance? Are they going to lease the properties? What are they going to do? Again, another deep, dark secret headed up by the county administrator whose institutional memory I question many times because it really, I look at how the county's run based on the county administrator we have. If the county's running good, county administrator's a darn big part of it. County administrator's not running good, county government's not running good, there's a sense of responsibility on behalf of the county administrator as to how that's all worked out with different people.
I got to stop you there. We are out of time, Ron. The producer is telling me we need to cut it there, but thank you for that. Thank you for joining us tonight, and thank you. That's all the time we have tonight. We hope you will like us on Facebook, follow us on X. We hope you will send your feedback and suggestions to feedback@flipsidetv.com. That's feedback@flipsidetv.com. Most important, come see us again next week for another visit to the Flip Side. Good night.